Hello everyone, welcome back to Soccer Showdown. Joe Archino here with Martino Puccio. Welcome to episode 3. And first off, we just want to thank everyone for all the support in episode 2. Broke our own records and expectations, 950 views and counting on Facebook alone. Thank you everyone, and let's get things rolling with episode 3. Martino, we start things off with Man United. Obviously, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been one of the budding stars of the league this year. He's a guy who has such a long, storied career, and right now, he's currently on a little bit of a contract that probably isn't giving him what he wants exactly, and it seems like right now he was looking for more of a 2-year deal in that range. Now, he nets the winner in the EFL Cup victory this weekend, 3-2. Man United takes it over Southampton. I'll ask you, he has 26 goals in all appearances this season. Is he warranted of getting that new deal?
Yeah, I don't know how he wouldn't be warranted that. I mean, they haven't had a striker like that since Van Persie's first season with them. And he's come in the league right after everyone's like, oh, Zlatan can't play here because it's the Premier League, this and that. He's already got 26 in all competitions, like you said. So I don't think it's even close. But it just depends on the direction the team wants to go moving forward. He's 35 years old. He could still play at a high level, obviously, like he has. But it depends if they want to go with Martial or Marcus Rashford for the future. But I think keeping him around and maybe getting a Champions League spot for next season would be the way to go.
Well, you talked about an interesting point about what does Man United want to do in the future. Wayne Rooney has been such an important part of their future for so long. But I think now when we kind of look at it, obviously now he has kind of fallen out of things under Jose Mourinho. But a potential, perhaps, reunion looms at Everton. According to Sky Sports, Wayne Rooney would consider a return to Everton next season. Everton manager Ronald Koeman has kind of said, look, I'd love to have him on the squad. He thinks he could really be a big piece of what Everton is trying to do. Now, Everton's currently in 7th place in the Premier League. Not really chasing titles right now, but it's a club that's on the rise. So I'll ask you, Martino, Wayne Rooney, could you see the reunion taking place?
I don't see that happening at all. I think that ship sailed years ago when he transferred over to United, and it's a big deal in a league like that or even in European soccer. When you transfer over to another team in the same league, it's going to be a big deal, especially when he's one of United's greatest players of all time. Going back to another club in England at this point in his career just doesn't make much sense. I know we said he's turned down China. He came out and said that publicly. But at this point, I just can't see him moving anywhere else, especially the club he used to play at. I either see him moving to probably another club in Europe if he actually goes anywhere, or maybe even the MLS, or maybe even reconsider China up again in the summer.
Well, let's kind of go to the other Manchester club, and that's, of course, Manchester City Football Club, who's been really finding themselves as of late, and Sergio Aguero, of course, has helped them do that. He's been sensational in the last 2 games for Manchester City, 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 2 appearances. But Martino, a little bit of different news on the City front, especially with Aguero, kind of linking him. Some reports saying that he's unhappy right now with kind of not being used as effectively, especially when Gabriel Jesus came into the picture. He kind of took a little bit of a backseat. And it certainly does seem like Pep Guardiola is trying to make this a young players team with Jesus and John Stones and all those young budding players. So I will ask you, it seems like they have an evaluation of him for clubs that want him of around Paul Pogba type money. Is he worth that type of money?
No, and it's not because I don't think he's that great. It's because I don't even think Pogba was worth that much money. There's only 2 players I would even pay that price for, and that's Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. I wouldn't even touch it and get near that category. The guy's never been able to stay healthy for a full season. I don't think it has to do with his production because when he's on the field, like you said, he's producing, he's scoring goals. But at the same time, what club is really going to pony up that money to go and get him? You think if Barcelona doesn't need a striker like that. Real Madrid, are they really going to move in that direction and try and get a world record fee like that if they could get a guy like Aubameyang instead who's younger and more desirable at this point? Or he goes back to Atletico Madrid where he used to play a few years ago. So I don't really know. I don't think any club is really going to pony up that money. If anything, I see him going for like 50, 60 million if they really want to settle for that. But at this point, I just don't see how they could be demanding that because that price is just going to drop immediately.
Well, rounding out the Premier League, we've got our match of the weekend. We have Arsenal Football Club, and of course, they travel to Anfield and they play Liverpool. Now, it's kind of interesting, Martino. We have, of course, 4th place Arsenal, 50 points, 5th place Liverpool. The first match of the season to open up the weekend for these clubs. Liverpool goes into the Emirates, thrashes Arsenal. I don't think a lot of people saw it coming. They win 4-3, and they were up for the majority of that game. Can Arsenal return the favor, kind of get some payback this weekend?
I think they kind of caught Liverpool in a bad spot because Leicester City just kind of smacked them in the face with a 3-1 defeat earlier in the week. But the thing is, they're going to Anfield, though. And I know they were defeated at the Emirates earlier this season, so they kind of want to get some payback. But at the same time, they're coming off a bad loss like that. They're still trying to vie for a Champions League spot, and Arsenal's in front of them. So I don't think Liverpool is going to give up a game like this. I have them winning 2-1. But I definitely see Arsenal being in this game. Ozil is actually going to play. Earlier today, they said that he should be okay come game time Saturday. So I think it'll be fine. I think Liverpool gets the win here, and they get back in the hunt for the Champions League spot.
I think I have to go with Liverpool here as well. I mean, I think when you look at it, this is both kind of clubs where they have a lot of up and down performances, but it just comes to a situation where you look at what Liverpool just did, losing 3-1 against a Leicester City club, which has just been in the news cycle as much as it gets. I do think Jurgen Klopp's team finds a way and gets it done. But let's move on to La Liga a little bit because both teams who are dominating that league right now were in action yesterday. Barcelona gets it done, and Real Madrid, they end up getting a draw. But right now, Real Madrid is 2-1-1 in their last 4 La Liga fixtures, which basically allowed Barcelona to jump them and take first place right now. So, Martino, I'll ask you, this is a club where sometimes I think people question their resiliency, their nerve. Is that right? Do they have that toughness to stay with Barcelona right now, who looks like they're kind of starting to get out of their funk a little bit?
I think it all depends on their focus and what they want to do. I mean, it's a lot to juggle all those competitions, especially when they won the Champions League last year. It's deep into the season, you're playing a lot of games. I think it's catching up to them now. They've had injuries to Bale and players like that. But I think at the end of the day, Barcelona is in a good spot as well because I think it seems that they conceded the Champions League at this point. They had the 4-0 defeat. Luis Enrique announced that he's not staying with the club anymore. He's leaving in the summer. So Barcelona had that huge win against Atletico Madrid at Atletico. So I just don't think Madrid might be aiming for the league at this point. I think they might be trying to go back-to-back Champions League winners, the first time that's going to be done in decades. So I think that might be their focus, but at the same time, they can still make up some ground. They're not behind by much, but at this time, I just don't see Real Madrid really focusing on that. And if Barca's just focusing on La Liga, I think that's going to be very difficult for them to catch up.
Well, you kind of highlighted what the next point was going to be, but of course, it's Luis Enrique deciding that he will not return to Barcelona next season. Obviously, when you look at what he's done in his 2 seasons there, 8 major trophies. He won the treble his first season there. But I think this move, I don't want to know if it comes as to a total shock to a lot of people, but what were your initial thoughts when you heard the news?
I wasn't that surprised because we saw in the papers that there were some rifts between him and Messi, and then Messi has been getting in some stuff. You've heard rumors before that you think that he always butts heads with some of the managers if he doesn't like what they're doing. And I get it. It gets kind of frustrating sometimes when you have 2 other guys that are so talented like Neymar and Suarez up top, and he might feel like he's not getting the ball as much. But at the same time, you look at the other team, Real Madrid, who moves managers constantly. After Ancelotti gets La Decima, he's out on the streets. Rafa Benitez didn't even last a full season. So I don't think it's as bad. I mean, they have coaches that last a couple seasons there. There isn't as much stability as you would like, but at the same time, they have some of the best talent in the world. I think they're going to be okay, but I think it's definitely going to be a change of pace after this.
Well, where do they go after this? I think there's so many names that have kind of been linked to that job, and of course, Arsene Wenger is always one of the ones we kind of talk about Arsenal already, but we still don't know what his future will be at the end of the season. It seems like he would like to stay at Arsenal, but you've always got people kind of rumoring him with that job. If you kind of looked at the Barcelona job opening up, initially, who would you kind of think might be the front runner, someone on their radar?
Oh, this one's very difficult because I don't see Wenger, if he leaves Arsenal, he's just going to go jump to another club right away. I mean, he's been at Arsenal for over 10 years. Managers like that usually take a sabbatical. You don't see Pep leaving. You don't see Mourinho leaving. Klopp doesn't seem like he's going to leave Liverpool. Ancelotti's at Bayern. How many big-name managers are there? Maybe if Antonio Conte really feels like he wants to leave Chelsea, or Andre Villas-Boas, maybe he's back over there. It's just, I don't really see a big name. I think they're going to probably maybe get a household name to get in there and just manage the club, someone that's familiar with the Barcelona culture, because I think that's the direction they need to go in, because it just seems like the players are kind of butting heads with recent managers there.
hey, the last 2 managers who won the Premier League got sacked the season after. So Antonio Conte, you can't get sacked if you go to another club. But let's go and we'll look at the state of Serie. This is kind of a State of the Union address, Martino, and I want you to give it. Obviously, right now, when you look at Serie A, you don't have to look very far past the Zebras. Juventus has had the league under their firm grasp these past 5 seasons, going on to a 6th season. So I'll ask you, Martino, what's the state of the league? Is it good that Juventus, is so powerful and so dominant in controlling this league?
I think it really depends on how you look at it, because we in America have UConn women's basketball. They're just absolutely dominating the country year in, year out. It doesn't seem like there's any competition. But in Serie A, it's very strange, because you got teams like Roma and Napoli who usually don't compete for the title year in, year out. They don't usually have that killer instinct that they've been there and done that. Obviously, Napoli hasn't won since the 80s, the league obviously, and Roma hasn't won since early 2000s. And then you have a club like Inter, who has all the resources they need. They have the money, but all their purchases and players that they brought in hasn't really come to fruition. They've had rifts with managers coming and going with Mancini and battling rifts. He's got Icardi, he doesn't like Icardi, he's playing here, playing there, so he's gone. They brought in DeBar, that didn't work out. And then you got Milan. No one knows what's going on over there. They say the sale of the club is going to happen in December. Then no, it gets pushed back to this week. And then apparently the sale of the club might not go through this week, and it's going to get pushed back to April. And there's $300 million that's been deposited. And you would think, if you're losing $300 million, wouldn't you just back out completely? Why do you keep on going back in trying to buy a club that you clearly can't purchase at this point? And it's been time and time again, Berlusconi's been quoted, hey, you know what, I'm going to sell this team. If I'm going to sell a team, it's got to come in for a big sum. It's going to be twice the amount Inter was sold. And technically, if you look at this brand, Milan's been losing money almost $100 million a year in, year out since 5-6 years ago. So is that something a consortium like China really wants to buy at this point? They don't have the funds for it, so it keeps on getting pushed back. It's just at a total loss, and most teams, not like Juve, they don't have their own stadium. So they're not able to make more revenue each game day that they have, because they have 19 games a season at home. They're not making the money there. And then there's Champions League tickets. They're getting knocked out early. They're not winning the group stage. No team that finished third place in Serie A that played in the summertime to advance in the group stage actually has won it since Milan. No team in Italy has done it, because you saw Roma struggle. They couldn't do it. And there's just constant struggles, and it's not going to change until someone finally gets it right like Juve did. They have stability at management. They buy the right players, right managers hired, right formation. It's the way they go. They're the model. And it's a good thing to have a model like that. But at this point, if teams are just going to be chasing like this and not making the right investments, it's going to be staying like this. And who knows? It might get to 10 at this rate.
State of the Union address from Martino. I'll give you a breath while I ask the next question. That was quite something there, but I think obviously now we kind of open things up. Major League Soccer returns this weekend, but of course New York City Football Club is right in our backyard. They entered the 3rd season of their illustrious history so far. Basically, year 1 could not have gotten off to a worse start. Year 2, just a complete overhaul, and everything was better. They make the playoffs. Patrick Vieira looks like he has this club in a really good position. So Martino, year 3, what are your expectations for NYCFC?
I don't think they should jump the gun and think they're going to win the title this year. I don't think that's going to happen. Frank Lampard finally came, and he finally got to play in some games, and he was scoring, but he's gone now, so they don't have that. And the mixed Discarud was just a complete disaster. He was getting paid one of the highest wages and salaries in the league, and he's gone. So they really have to rely on David Villa and Andrea Pirlo. I mean, Pirlo's getting up there in age, but his play style warrants his career to last a few more seasons, or a season or two, depending on whatever he wants to do. But at this rate, I just don't see how they could beat teams like Toronto with Jovinko on that squad. I mean, they even have Atlanta coming in now, and apparently they've sold 30,000 season tickets, so that's going to be a tough crowd to deal with. There's always Kaká down in Orlando. I just think that they need to build from the ground up, obviously, with players that they draft or free agent signings of players that they could find as well, and even bring over some guys from Europe, too, the retirement guys. It's not a big deal. You're trying to win. It's not a big deal at this point. There's not that many top players coming up from the youth. I mean, we see the LA Galaxy. How many times have they won the league? And they bring back Landon Donovan. They're not getting new names every single year. So I think it's definitely a transitional year. It's only the 3rd year of their existence. Everyone should relax. I understand the high standards of New York City, But just compared to the other teams in New York right now, it's really not that bad. So I think everybody just needs to relax.
But the boys are back in blue, and I think everyone's got to be, of course, very excited for that. But everyone, thank you for listening to Soccer Showdown Episode 3. The continued support means everything to us. We will be back next time. Joe Archino here with Martino Puccio.